So today we're looking at Glencoe Course 2 Math, Lesson 4.4 on adding and subtracting with unlike denominators. Yesterday we added and subtracted with like denominators. That means that our denominator was already the same. We were looking at the same number of pieces in our puzzle that we were adding or subtracting. Okay? Today we're looking at it when they're different. That means that we're looking at it in terms of something like cutting your pizza into a different number of slices. Okay? Some pizza places cut a large pizza into 8 slices. Other places cut it into 10. Or you could cut it into 6. If you're wanting to be really funky, you could cut it into 7, but that's a little bit harder. Okay? So, today we're looking at how we can add these things that aren't the same, when the number of pieces aren't the same. Okay? And to do that, we need to do what's finding a common denominator. There's a couple different ways that you might have been shown how to do this. I'm going to show you a couple different ways, and then you can choose. Alright? So, let's look at example 1. Example 1 on page 292 says to find 1/2 plus 1/4. Can I add half of a pizza to a quarter of a pizza and know how much pizza I've got? No. Alright? I don't know. I have to put it all into the same number of pieces. Okay? Now, we can do is, we need to find the least common denominator. That means that we need to find some number where the denominator can be the same. I can go from 2, my multiples of 2 are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, yada yada yada. Okay? My multiples of 4 are 4, 8, 16, 20, 24. Are there some similarities already? Yeah, do I have to go any further? No. Okay. What is the smallest number that they have in common? Yes, sir. 4. Okay. So that would be our least common denominator. Is that the only common denominator possible?
No, it's 8.
Okay, we could use 8, or we could keep going and we could go to 16 or 20, right? Okay, but 4 is our least common denominator. How do I go from 2 to 4? I have to multiply by something.
2.
I'm going to multiply this by 2 times 2. What I do to my denominator, I have to do to my numerator. So that's 1 times 2. What's 1 times 2? 2. What's 2 times 2? 4. Did I have to do anything to my 1/4 this time? Nope. So what is? Now, is this exactly what we did yesterday?
Yes.
Yeah. What's 2 plus 1?
3.
3. What's my denominator?
4.
4. You mean I don't add my denominators?
No, ma'am.
Nope. The denominator stays exactly the same. Alright. Ladies and gentlemen, that's one way. Okay, in our book it shows us how we can do this using a number line. If we're real good with our multiplication facts and those relationships between numbers, do we have to write out our multiples? No. Okay, now, there's another way that we can do this. Alright? There's another way that we can do this. My secondary way, because you know that I like to show you a way to do this that works every single time, right? Okay. You multiply the 2 denominators together. Okay? So, you multiply 2 times 4. That gives you a common denominator of 8, correct? 2 times 4 is 8? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. What did I multiply the 2 by to get 8?
4.
Okay, so then we're going to multiply my numerator here by 4. What's 4 times 1? 4. What did I multiply 4 by to get 8?
2.
So I'm going to multiply this numerator here times 2. What's 1 times 2?
2.
2. Do I have a common denominator?
Yeah.
Okay. What do I do with my numerators? What's 4 plus 2?
6 over 8.
6 and 8.
Okay. Now, can I simplify 6/8?
Yes.
What does 6/8 simplify to? 3/4. How did I get to 3/4? I divided both by 2. Ladies and gentlemen, did we get the same answer with both?
Yes.
Yeah, both equal 3/4. So, here's what I'm going to recommend. Ladies and gentlemen, you need to know a way to solve these problems, correct? Yeah. If you're not great with your multiplication facts, is writing out multiples going to be a good idea? Now, if we're not great with our multiplication facts, are we likely to make a mistake here?
Yes.
Okay. This way, we only have to multiply one time, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you choose what works best for you. If you're not great with simplifying, then make sure that you find the least common denominator. If you're okay with simplifying, do it this way. Okay? If you know your multiplication facts and those relationships between numbers, backwards, forwards, inside out, can you just look at the 2 and the 4 and realize that your common denominator is going to be 4? If we know those inside, outside, upside down, you know, on a plane, on a train, on a boat,
In the rain.
in the rain, there we go. Okay. Thank you for finishing my run. Shh. All right. So, we have multiple ways that we can solve these problems. You have to decide which way you want to use. Okay? Any questions about this example? All right. Let's check a raise of hands real quick. How many of you like using least common denominator multiples? How many of you like finding a common denominator? Okay. All right. Hey, it's okay. It's okay. I'm just trying to figure out how we are going to do our examples. So, I'm going to do my next example over in this space. Let's look at turning the page to 293. Turning the page to 293. We're going to start with example 2.
293.
Uh-huh. Guys, our notes are going to look a little bit all over the place, and I don't like it, but to make sure we don't have to erase, that's what we're going to do today. Okay? In example 2, we have, in a set of parentheses, negative 3/4 plus 5/9. We're going to add to that 7/4. Alrighty. Now, there's a couple really cool things that we can do with addition. One of those things is called the commutative property, and the other one is called the associative property. The commutative property means that we can move numbers around when we add or when we multiply to make our problem easier to solve. The associative property says that I can group numbers together when I add or when I multiply to make them easier to solve. What's going to be easier to solve? Finding a common denominator between 4 and 9 and then adding fourths to that? Is that easy? No. Are we going to want to change that up a little bit? Okay. So, I'm going to use my commutative property that says that I can change around the order, just like if you went to a community picnic and your mom asked you who you talk to. Does it matter what order you tell her you talk to people in? No, as long as you include everybody, right? Okay, so we're going to change the order of people that we talk to. We say negative 3/4 plus 7/4 plus 5/9. We flip-flop those two numbers, right? Okay. Then I'm going to use my associative property, and I'm going to say that, you know what? I'm associating with, these people are in my group. I'm going to group the negative 3/4 and 7/4 together, so we do that part first. Then we have one denominator of 4 and one denominator of 9. Does that make things easier? Yeah. Okay. Have you guys been able to move stuff around in a problem before? No. Is this going to be a game changer for you when we have multiple numbers? I guarantee you it will be. Okay? So here I have a common denominator already. What is negative 3 plus 7? What's negative 3 plus 7?
Negative 4.
Is it going to be positive or negative 4?
Negative.
Positive. Why is it positive 4?
Adding.
Absolute value.
Because the 7 has a greater absolute value. Now, hey guys, look at this. Can I simplify any part of this?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. 4 over 4 is the same as 1, correct? So do I have to find a common denominator?
No.
Nope. What is 1 plus 5/9?
1 and 5/9.
Ta-da! What questions do we have about this? What questions do we have about this? You might have some when you start working? Okay. I have no problem with that. You're being honest with me. Anything else? Okay. Let's look at a subtraction problem. Because, guys, unfortunately, we can't do this with subtraction.
Probably going to show us the way to do every.
So, I'm going to erase. I'm going to erase and we're going to do a subtraction problem. All right. Look at example 3, please. It asks us to take negative 2/3 minus 1/2. Minus 1/2. First of all, when we see a subtraction problem, what did I ask you to do? KCA it. And when we KCA, what does this turn into?
Plus.
Plus what?
Negative.
Plus negative 1/2. Okay, guys, now that since I KCA'd that, could I use those associative and commutative properties that we just used? Yeah. Since I KCA'd that, I can use those properties that let me move stuff around.
So what's wrong?
Exactly. So, because we have, listen please, because those properties only work with addition and multiplication, especially with the subtraction, when we KCA it, we can use those properties, so we can move stuff around however we want to make it easier to solve because we KCA'd it. Okay? So I know some of you don't like doing the KCA part, but if we saw three numbers and there was subtraction in there, that subtraction sign says we can't move stuff around. As soon as we KCA it, we can. Okay? Alright. Do I need a common denominator? I do?
Yes.
Okay. Does anybody know off the top of their head what is my common denominator between 2 and 3? 6. Alright? What? Shh. What? Alright, let's check our multiples. We start with 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. For 2, we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Alright? What is the least? What is the smallest number that they have in common? The 6. Okay. What do I multiply 3 by to get to 6?
2.
2. So what do I multiply this 2 by? 2. What is negative 2 times 2?
Negative 2. I'm negative 4.
Negative 4.
Yeah, negative 4.
And you told me that 3 times 2 is what?
You said what?
6. What did I multiply 2 by to get to 6?
3.
3. So I need to multiply the negative 1 by? 3. What is negative 1 times 3?
Negative 3.
Negative 3. And my denominator is going to be? 6. What is negative 4 plus negative 3? Negative 7. What's my denominator? Ooh. Do I like my answer? Nope. Why not? Because it's improper. We cannot have improper fractions as an answer. It makes my hair go gray. I'm too young for that. How do we take negative 7, 6? And I divide it. Okay? My final answer is going to be positive or negative? Negative. So I'm just going to go and put the negative there. 6 goes into 7 how many times? 1. 1 times 6 is? 6. Subtract. 7 minus 6 is? 1. That's my remainder, right? What does my remainder become? The numerator. What's my denominator? So my final answer is negative 1 and 1/6. What questions do we have? Because that had a little bit of everything in it.
That's the odyssey.